Bulls. And a favorable schedule could help Chicago as we turn to 2014. But if you watch the Bulls of late, you've seen them scoring in the 70s at times because they are dead last in points per game. They're shooting 42%. 33% from three-point range, and not really defending the three all that great either. They allowed a season-high 13 threes to the Mavericks, who came to town and just beat them up a little bit. So let's dig even deeper now when we bring in our guest, a friend of the show, joining us from FedEx Forum, Casey Johnson of the Chicago Tribune. Casey Hoops is with us, the Bulls beat writer. And Casey, the Bulls could use a little holiday cheer, pushed around by Dallas, as I said. But give us the injury update. What about Luol Deng?
Luol is out tonight for the 5th straight game with the sore left Achilles. However, he is very close, so the Bulls finish a back-to-back at home tomorrow night against Toronto. If he doesn't go tomorrow night, I'd see him back in the lineup Thursday at home against the Boston Celtics, so he's very close. Jimmy Butler is playing tonight after re-aggravating the turf toe injury on Saturday night against the Mavericks. So overall, a pretty good night of health for the Bulls, given how widespread the injuries they've had this year.
Well, it really is. And I read your recap of the Dallas game, and it was disappointing the way that the Bulls defended that three-point line. Has that been something that's been troublesome for them? Because they're noted, obviously, for being a great defensive team.
Teams have shot a high percentage against them all year, and then there's been 3 or 4 teams that have just exploded for, double-digit three-pointers. Detroit Pistons also had 12 three-pointers against them. Mavericks had 13. So as far as the amount of makes they've allowed, they're kind of in their normal realm for that. But the percentage of the opponent is shooting against them from the three-point line has been very poor all season, and it's something that you don't really expect from a Tom Thibodeau coach team.
Casey, offensively, the Chicago Bulls, we know they're struggled, and no Derrick Rose, no Luol Deng, but recently Taj Gibson has showed some glimpses of being able to be a guy coming off the bench and can kind of give them some punch on the offensive end. Is he healthy, and do you think Coach Thibodeau has started to put the basketball in his hand a little bit more?
Yeah, it's funny because when you guys were going over the Bulls' offensive numbers before I came on, I could feel my eyes starting to bleed. Watch all those games. But no, Taj has been a bright spot consistently all season, and that comes on the heels of last season when he was a little bit more inconsistent for the first time in his career after signing that 4-year extension. He's never been a guy who's been great at creating his own shot, and once he puts on the floor, sometimes he can get into trouble, but he's had a real nice he's getting really good deep post position consistently this season, and he's had a nice spin move that he's been countering defenses with. So they have looked to get him the ball inside more, and it's not just all putbacks with him this year. He's actually developed a couple moves inside. So he's been one of the few offensive consistencies for this team all season.
Well, KC, you follow this team, you're up close to it. And last year when guys went down, the favorite theme was next man up, next man get ready to play. But now when you look at that bench, you don't see the Bellinelli, you don't see Nate Robinson. Is there enough energy, enough talent on that bench for the next man to step up?
Yeah, I heard you, before I came on say, Augustine is weird. I mean, here's a guy who's on the street, like you said, can't even crack the rotation in Toronto. And believe it or not, he's injected a lot of life into this offense just because he's another guy who can play screen roll. He's, tries to push it up court in transition. He makes quick decisions with the ball. I think he might come back to earth probably a little bit, because he's been a little bit inconsistent the last couple of seasons. But at least he's a guy you can give the ball to, a second ball handler with Heinrich. Again, multiple screen rolls on both sides of the court, and that's what they are missing from last year's team. Bellinelli and Nate, were great at that. The guys who were shot creators could play screen roll with, and the Bulls really missed that. So I think DJ Augustine's going to play a big role for this team moving forward throughout this season.
All right, Casey, let's go big pictures to try to keep Bulls fans happy. Derrick Rose is injured again. Luol Deng, not sure if he's coming back. Boozer may get amnestied. What's the big picture for the Bulls, how this team is going to be successful for the future?
Brush up on your overseas play because Nikola Mirotic is going to be coming over hopefully at some point. That's that draft acquisition they had a couple years ago that plays for Real Madrid that they're very, very high on. He does have a pretty high buyout, and I got to believe he's going to want a decent amount of money to come over here because he's not tied to that rookie scale contract anymore. But he's somebody that they really see can inject some life into this offense. And he's really kind of the one of the building blocks that they see for this future, obviously along with the return of Derrick next season.
Casey, let's go beyond hoops now. Coach Thibodeau losing his father last week and attended services on this Monday, missed shoot-around, but is returning for the game tonight, which shows a lot about what this game means to him, and I would imagine his family, his father in particular.
I think he said it best. We were very respectful of the situation pregame, but he said, look, this is something my dad would have wanted me to do. His father was 83, obviously, had a nice run. But he said it's something my father would have wanted me to do. And also, when he was at the funeral this morning in Connecticut, he saw that his family was doing okay. He also snuck home last week after the matinee in Brooklyn that they won on Christmas Day for a day to spend with his family. And he said when he saw that his family was doing okay, he knew that his dad and his family would have wanted him here tonight. So he missed the shoot-around this morning, but he's back tonight for the game against the Grizzlies.
Oh, tough any time, but particularly around the holidays. But Casey Johnson, always great to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Right.
Appreciate the information.
Thanks,
we'll talk to you down the road, buddy.
All right, sounds good.
All right. You guys alluded to this, the fact that Chicago at 11-17, not that far back. Not that far back.
Well, to Smitty's point earlier, Derrick Rose may come back. He realizes this knee is not the ACL, that if the team is winning, that I may want to come back and help. But I still have the same problem. You don't have those guys that you had last year that gave you that energy. When you saw Derrick Rose on the end of the bench at the end of the season in the suit, and you saw Bellinelli and Nate Robinson going at Brooklyn, going at Joe Johnson, going at those guys, you were thinking that, wait a minute, if Derrick Rose had come back, oh, man. But I'm not sure Dunleavy, DJ Augustine, I'm not sure those guys can bring that same firepower those guys bought last year to say to Derrick Rose, we're going to hold down the fort. Now can you come back? Because last year you didn't, but this injury's a little different. But if you get healthier and we're still fighting for 8 or 7, please come back. Now things get more interesting for Chicago.
Well, that is interesting overall, too, because, Smitty, how does that factor into the mentality of this next man up thing? We're going to grind through no matter what. I know we're hurting, but we're going to fight because that's how we are.
Well, DZ hit it best. 3D hit it best. I mean, this is not as a talented roster coming off the bench and guys that can step up. The only part is I give a pass to Chicago Bulls is I keep looking at this Eastern Conference and saying they're 11-17. If they can win 3 or 4 games, they could be moved up to 4th. The Toronto Raptors are 13-15. They're 11-17. I do not think this is the type of team that can have the magical run without Derrick Rose last year. But I do think this team can get into playoffs, especially the injuries that's going along with Atlanta and also some different teams. I think they could come in and have a decent season in the playoffs if they can make it, get in somewhere around 7th, 6th or 7th. No, not 7th because then they'll be playing Miami or Indiana. They can make it to 6. They have a chance to have a decent postseason.
But Deng is so key because he's got to get back there and provide that scoring that they need, that guy that can be that go-to.
Because the reason why I say that, 3D and Vince, Atlanta Hawks, no disrespect to them, without Al Horford right now.
Hurt.
With Luol Deng and against Atlanta Hawks, you still give the edge to Atlanta Hawks, but I wouldn't count out the Chicago Bulls.